Hello everyone, before we go into the main video, there are certain things that I would want to talk about. So I plan on making more videos involving other people to discuss different perspectives on certain things in the Bible and just share wisdom between each other, and hopefully you guys will learn and gain some things, although there might not be tips but rather just conversations or biblical conversations. So that is what I plan on doing. And for this video that you're about to watch, the lighting isn't the best, but I hope you guys gain something from it. Hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And in this video I would be having a conversation with my friend
Adela.
And we will be talking about godly dating. So it's not exactly where you could get some tips, but rather conversations on godly dating. And I'm a teenager and she's like a teenager youthish kind of person. So yeah. So what is godly dating to you? What is godly dating to you?
So me, first of all, like we've talked about before, I haven't read, and I don't think there's a place in the Bible that talks about dating. Now, we know about courtship and marriage, and honestly, I don't know much about that. But from what I've read, people getting to married, I don't see them courting, except maybe because Joseph and Mary were engaged, but whatever. Is that right? Yeah, but we never learned the story of them dating, quote unquote. So that's one. My personal opinion on dating, I think it's just like a stage where you get to know them and grow with them and see if things work out or not. Because you can't know everything about a person just, I don't know, a few weeks. You gotta know them for sure. So
and also to add to that, actually in the Bible, it doesn't really talk about dating. So I'm thinking dating is more of a modern thing to do. So in the Bible, it doesn't really talk about, dating. And that's why to me personally, if I happen to be in a relationship with someone, I wouldn't want it to be for over 10 years before you say, oh, I'm ready to be married, because that's way too long. No. And also I want us to talk about age requirements for dating. So for me personally, I don't think there's a specific age to date. However, I'm not saying you should be dating at 5 years old, no, but rather I have personal requirements that I need to have before I be in a relationship. For example, my personal relationship with God comes first, and it has to be stronger and much more better than any relationship that I have, if it's friendship or being with someone else or anything like that. And financially, I have to be financially stable, and I also need to get approval from God. Another one I would want to get is this is actually more personal, is I have to ask my parents first, and if they are like, okay, yeah, go ahead, then so be it. But if, God forbid, they wouldn't say that, but they wouldn't say things otherwise. But anyway, that is some things, financially stable, spiritually stable, parents' approval and all that. So that is when I'm like, okay, God, after I've had all this, is it time? And if it's like yes, then so be it. So for you, is there any specific age or time that someone could be in a relationship?
I don't think there's like a specific time to date. However, I would say children are not matured at certain age. Don't tell me you're dating at 13, 15. Please no. At least be 18. Then you can get into a relationship. But I think for me, I started dating at 12, 13. And
but you just said not to be. Okay, let's hear.
I started dating at 12, 13. First of all, I did not know I was dating, so I knew after. But I got into a relationship not knowing. And then when I traveled, so it's now a long distance relationship. And we've been together because in my head I was so obsessed with this guy, and thank God for deliverance. I really go to God and be like, God, this is my husband. But God helped me. So at 13, you're not mature enough to date. Now, I told you my story at 12. Don't be like, oh yeah, but you said no, but you started at 12. I'm telling you from experience.
Yes, learn a lesson.
Experience. Yeah. I wouldn't advise anyone under the age of 18 to date. what else do I want to say? And I think for me, it's really important that the person have a personal relationship with God. And also, I think something about dating is important to understand that it's not about you. It's not about just you. It's two people in a relationship. And if you're trying to get into a relationship with someone, godly relationship, you have to think of this. Oh, this is also God's daughter. This is also God's son. You have to keep that in mind. And relationship is not just about giving and getting. It's about loving the person. And so,
yeah. And also, so I actually watched this video from Vlad and Lana. By the way, these are like amazing pastors, and I was actually watching some of the things that they said about dating, you know, relationship and all that. So in the Bible, there's a specific Bible verse that talks about, you know, God giving like for a human being or for a person, they have like 70 years. That's like, you know, the lifespan that they have. And what if you have like 80, you know, there's like additional or bonus years. So, you know, but basically 70 is the age that is like, okay, yes, as a human, this is your lifespan and all that thing. And, you know, as a teenager, you have 7 years to be a teenager, from 13 to 18. So I kind of want to see it as a tithe, like, you know, 10% of your life to God. And just like, you know, in church, like 10% of your money is to God. So that is kind of a thing. And what you said, like being a teenager, I mean, even 18, 19, you're still a teenager because, like, you know, 18, the teen and all of this type of thing. So,
and we're not saying you cannot marry at 18, 19. I mean, I wouldn't advise it, but if God said, oh, girl, I want you to marry for this mission I have for you, God knows what he's doing, you know? But I just would advise, like, teenagers, you have to be 18, 19 today, please. It just sits, like, I think we all grow, and you need to be at a certain age to be mature. So, maturity.
And something I also want to add is, if you are looking for someone to date, don't try to change someone and be like, oh, I could change the person, and, you know, then that is wrong. Because that person will pull you back, not just physically, but also spiritually. And anything that affects you spiritually can also affect you physically. So we have to be careful of whoever we want to be in a relationship with. And don't just date for dating's sake or for having fun, but rather date to marry. So if you know that you want to date for fun, you might as well just end it and not be in a relationship. Because, and also in this generation, they try to make things seem like being single is a bad thing. It's not. You could be single and be living your best life. You know, you could do many things than when you're in a relationship and you have to, you know, oh, I don't want to do things that would, like, you know, hurt this person, like, you know. And by the way, when I say having fun, I'm not saying doing things that are against the word of God. You could do many godly things that are, you know, fun and all that. And there's a Bible verse that I actually would love to read, and can you read this? The 2 Corinthians 6:14. Oh, is it 4?
Yeah. Okay. 2 Corinthians 6:14. NLT. It says, don't team up with those who are unbelievers. How can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? Be a partner with wickedness. How can light live in darkness?
Exactly. So that is just, you know, more insight on what I was talking about. And, you know, just basically not to be what is that? Anyways, and also youthful loss. Oh, do you want to say something?
Basically, not being tied up with unbelievers. If you're a believer, it's really advisable to marry a believer. Like she said, you can't change nobody. You're not God, so don't change anybody.
Exactly.
All you can do is pray for them. Just pray for them, and that they find God.
And also, don't try to date someone or be in a relationship because with someone because you're lusting over them. That is a no. Youthful loss. The Bible advises it in 2 Timothy 2:22. It talks about, you know, do not be part of the youthful lust, you know. And lust, by the way, lust doesn't exactly mean something that is sexual, because a lot of time when people say things of lust, they always think about sexual, but rather, you know, lust of the flesh, for example, self-pleasure, or trying to be boastful and brag that, oh, I have a girlfriend, or I have a boyfriend. No. And this is something that I also watched from Vlad and Lana. By the way, I'll put the video in the description to watch if you would love to watch it. You know, it talks about whenever you want to be in a relationship, don't go to that relationship thinking that that person will fix you, but rather go into the relationship whole. And when I mean whole, it's like everything, just like I said earlier in this video about my personal requirement. By the way, that doesn't have to be the same thing for you. You know, don't think that person could fix you, because now you're pulling that person back and you're hurting that person, and you're also hurting yourself. So, you know, mentally be mature and spiritually be mature through the help of God, because you cannot do all this by yourself. So is there any other additional thing you would want to add or say? So yeah, you know, by the way, this isn't exactly one of the videos where like, oh, tips on how to find the perfect one or to be in a godly relationship and all those type of things. So do you remember?
Yeah, I do. My thing is, this world, they make you feel like singleness is bad, but it's not. And sometimes I worry, because I shouldn't be worried about it, but it's like, for me, I have a standard that whoever I date must have a relationship with God, an ongoing relationship. The person has to love God. I can't. And I have to have certain requirements. You gotta be responsible, you gotta be disciplined. And I'm not saying, oh, I want all that from you and I'm not gonna work for myself. That's why you gotta prepare all that before getting into a relationship. But sometimes I think, do I have too much of a standard for people to be? Like my regular friend who is not a believer, or maybe a believer, does that person have that standard? And I'm not saying, oh, I like this person, so I can just date the person and hopefully they'll come up to it. I say, as Christians especially, because you know the whole talk about like dating and sex, and people just doing so many stuff, and I'm like, I'm not even going to get a husband at this point, because I don't date for fun. I date with the intention of marriage, and you have to have that relationship with God before. That's like the number one thing you have to have before I date you. And then you go into, if you want to date, don't feel like you have to settle. It may feel lonely for the most part. Don't settle for less.
Exactly.
And
sorry for cutting you off. Sorry. But just like you mentioned about, you know, people talking about worldly things and like sex and all, whenever you're in a relationship, if you are not married to that person, do not have sex with that person, because if you have sex with that person, now you have, what is that word again? Soul ties, and it's really hard to come out of. So, you know, listen to the word of God, because anytime God tells us not to do something, it is for our own benefits, not for Him. It is to protect us, to keep us safe from destruction of the flesh or of the devil and all of that. So, sorry for cutting you off. So you can continue.
Yeah, basically, don't settle for less. The word will tell you. I literally told someone about like what I want, and he's telling me, lower your standard. And I'm like, wow. And this person is like married, so it's like, wow, you're telling me to go. I know people watch to avoid. But as a believer, I don't believe you should lower your standard. Trust God. Yeah. That's why you talk to God about everything. Talk to God about everything. God knows. I mean, He created marriage for a purpose. I mean, if you're called to be single forever, God knows He's going to take care of you. He's going to take care of you.
There's a Bible verse, I can't remember where exactly it's from in the Bible, but there's a Bible verse that actually talks about there are certain people that are born to be single, while some it's their choice to be single. In the Bible, Jesus was single. He didn't. He had the best life. You know, he was single. Nothing. There are also many more. Paul was single too. So it's not a must to be in a relationship
and it's fine if you have the desire to marry. And God knows that. And I think if you have the desire to marry, I think God could use that. I don't think God is gonna be like, oh, bye, I don't care. No. So, if that's fine, but if you're not called to marry, talk to God about it. God knows, like, literally, He knows everything about you. He knows your plans. He knows your future. Just talk to God about it.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
So, I would love to talk more, and I know you definitely would love to talk more, but we have to end this video right here. And if you also want me to talk to my amazing friend here about any other type of, you know, situation, personal situation, you can leave it down in the comments. And if you also want us to talk more about this dating, relationship, single life situation, you could also leave it down in the comment. Thank you guys for watching, and you know, God bless you. And as I always say, keep spreading the gospel to people and all that. So God bless you and goodbye.